3 people can keep a secret if 2 are dead, right? That's a fact.
I built this thing from the bottom, they tore it down, I rebuilt it. I give myself a task, you can bet your ass I fulfill it. Yeah, man, I'm talking about Willis, one of the
We're stopping at 126.
Can we go? Can we stop at 126, and then just start up at like 5:03?
Whatever you want to do. 503.
We just start up at 5:03.
Pulling the Thread podcast, episode 90.
So every week people are like, "Man, I missed like 100 episodes."
I got some music for you.
Oh, you finally got music.
What's the song we normally used? Is that it?
That's it right there. Not really.
No, that's not
Sounds
it.
like a new one.
Hey, what the fuck's going on? What happened with these?
They were there.
So
right.
we only have three
You
songs.
couldn't find it in your email.
What episode is this? 87?
90.
90.
All right, are you aware of
91?
the Department of Defense has rewrote their authorization or whatever for use of force against U.S. citizens? It was changed right about the time the storms kicked off.
Mm-hmm.
It was rewritten. It had been originally changed in 2016, updated, and they just re-updated it. It coincides with they have pulled FEMA and military personnel, although I don't know what military personnel were in North Carolina. They pulled them out and said that militias were hunting FEMA members. They arrested one dude, and he looks like your typical, like, white supremacist. I mean, he's got tattoos like Brandel and, you know, because, well, that's what that lady said, right? Nazis all have tattoos like you.
For sure.
But they had this picture of this dude, like, almost Manson-like, kind of. One guy, no militia, anything, and that's what the media is putting out. They had to pull everybody out because of militias.
They're looking for an excuse. That's
Yes,
all that is.
and it coincides at the same time.
They're just looking for an excuse to force people to disarm. That's all they're doing, is looking for an excuse.
Every gun tube out there has picked this up as early as last night, and all of them this morning have gone through. They've gone to the website. They've read this. They've highlighted it. Guns and Gadgets. All your big like gun YouTube channels are really talking about this morning.
It's actually the interesting thing is when you think about natural disasters, right? When they send the National Guard or they send even regular Army troops. Okay, so like if you watch the convoys of the guys who, because we sent guys from here, from
Yeah, into Tennessee.
no, they went all the way down to North Carolina.
Okay.
So
Up to North Carolina.
or up whatever direction it is. But the SOP is they don't take guns anyways, because that's not what it is. That's not the mission. So it would be weird for troops to show up to do humanitarian with guns.
Okay. I have photos.
You have photos?
I can show you that people in North Carolina and Tennessee both sent me of dudes in all kinds of like fucking desert digital camo and shit. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, who the fuck are those guys? And they all have guns. And he said, those are Homeland Security.
Well, that's different.
So FEMA has security with them.
Yeah, that's different. That's different because it's a.
There was a lot of guns.
Well, they're doing that on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Show of force.
Yeah, the reality is they're doing that on purpose to assert. It's always 100% about asserting federal dominance over local municipalities. That's all it is.
Did you hear about the sheriffs? So there's
I
multiple.
know one sheriff got relieved of duty.
Yes, over the helicopter thing.
No, over trying to disarm everybody.
Okay, so that was Florida.
Florida, yeah.
Yeah, he did get removed. You have sheriffs in North Carolina telling FEMA as they're coming up into the towns, do not come up here. We do not need your assistance. If you come up here, you are going to be in a gunfight. Like there's a lot of reports of that, and there's even
I've seen
news reports of sheriffs saying that do not come here.
Yeah, I've seen the guy in the holler somewhere, the sheriff that was telling him to fuck off. I mean, the reality is if the municipality or the locale
doesn't
want
your
your assistance, then there's somebody else that does.
Yeah.
Right? There are other people that do. So fucking move on.
They don't seem to bring assistance.
No, the idea, the issue that most people don't understand is when FEMA shows up, they're just there to write checks anyways.
And in this case, it's $750 checks.
Yeah.
And that has to be repaid. You have 1 year to repay that.
Did you see when Camilla?
I did see it.
See Camilla that her belt buckle was. Somebody did the research on her when she's like, "Hey, $750." She has this belt on, and there's I don't know which maker. You can identify the maker by the buckle, and they're like, "That belt costs more than what you're giving these people in North Carolina."
Yeah.
It was like $759 or some shit.
Pretty wild.
Yeah.
So you sent me a TikTok this morning. Who was that guy?
I'm assuming he's Homeland Security.
So he looks to be official, and he's saying something to the effect of, we'll call him Mr. Smith, witnessed something in Miami, Florida Mall, January 1st, I believe he said. He was a witness to a classified operation or something classified. Now, what he's talking about, if you guys remember, I've seen 3 of these now. I believe there was one in Nashville. There was one that Brandel saw in Atlanta, and then the more famous one is Florida. And there was guys making all kinds of like AI video of it and stuff, or maybe it wasn't AI. But there was a lot of people saying that there were aliens moving through the mall. Now, we had forgotten all about this, but this has popped up in an official conference or press conference or some...
He's in front of the Senate.
Yeah, or Congress or something. Yeah. And he's saying, yes, something happened. We cannot tell you what what happened. I'm not authorized to give you any information. Here's what I can tell you. This footage that you guys have viewed, the person who took this was witness of a classified operation. We cannot tell you anything more. Now, you thought CERN. Remember when CERN said we did open some wormhole or something, and we have contacted with a parallel universe? Around that time, all kinds of weird shit started happening. You also have the theories that at the same time, remember when we had the eclipse and NASA launched 2 rockets? They're saying that they actually blocked the sun. That's why the growing seasons are all fucked up. That what you see is not actually the sun. Something is blocking the sun. The weather patterns are all different right now. That all could coincide with that whole CERN type thing.
It could. I mean, the reality is you have 2 things. You have 2 possibilities, right? There are 2 distinct possibilities.
They did it or they lied.
They either CERN fired up, and because of what they were doing, an alternate dimension has been opened and is allowing for the pass-through, right? Or 2, which may be more realistic, this is all some sort of psyop, and they are
Operation Blue Beam type.
They're
thing.
just trying to see how people will react, because you have a couple of things going on with any of these major alien contacts, right? When you think about the F-18s, the 2 different,
the Tic Tac, and
the 2 different.
I was just watching
groups.
something on it the other day.
Yeah, the 2 different, one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast. Those were in secure flight spaces, meaning no one can fly in those spaces but military aircraft. Both times that happened. It immediately became classified. All the gun camera footage, everything was classified. People flew out to the carriers and snatched all that shit up. Immediately became classified, which would be an indication of a ongoing event.
How long ago did it happen? Because they're talking about it.
It's been a minute. I want to say it's probably been 10 years for each of those events.
So,
because I think the original pilot who came out with and showed the gun footage, I think he's already retired.
Would that not be a crime for him to show that if that's classified footage? If the government said you will not speak about this?
Yes. So, but if he's got, the reality is, if he has the gun camera footage, if the gun camera
somebody
footage
gave it, he didn't go get it himself.
Somebody released it, but I don't know if you remember when that one guy, when they were doing the Project Blue Book stuff, I think it was released by some other source, and then he was just like, I was the one flying that airplane. So you have that, right? And then you have these things that are happening in malls, right? There are 2 things that are not happening There are two things that are not happening that you would expect to happen if it was something we did not know about. Right? If it was something we did not know about, there are two things that have not happened yet. We haven't fired on any of these crafts. Nobody has been given permission to shoot at one of these things, right? F-18s, nobody's been given permission. They've scrambled extra aircraft.
Apparently they can't hit them. They can't even maneuver. These things outmaneuver them.
But they're not even trying, right?
Okay.
So, and then again, fucking mall in Miami. There wasn't one thug in there that was going to, and then I watched more of the video, and what the guy was talking about is when the police arrived and started questioning everybody, he's like, it seemed like they had a script that they were going off of. The way they were asking these questions. And then one of the things apparently walks outside.
Yeah, we saw that.
Apparently one of the things walks outside, and he's like, all they did was surround it with police cars and kind of drive with it. Okay, again.
So where is it now?
Again, no act of force or violence on the thing itself, which means, maybe this is all just a fucking, maybe this is all just a generated hologram for us to believe that because, again, if you think about what governments do, the reality is governments always create some sort of boogeyman for control.
Have you seen it's like the storefront above the building. It's these TV walls in Las Vegas, and you're looking at this tank, and there's a creature in there, and then all of a sudden the creature like breaks the glass and crawls up the side of the building, but it looks ridiculously real. And have you seen the dome in Las Vegas where they project things? Like that shit looks so fucking real. Surely they have something that they can just put out.
And the other thing
that
I was thinking about today, right? Because that made me go and search and look at some of the other videos, and I'm like, okay. The reality is a mall. People are freaking out. They're running from the mall.
Yeah, how'd you let your monster get out in the mall?
But I mean, people are freaking out. They're running from the mall. If it's legit, there should be multiple sources of information coming from the thing that they're talking about. It doesn't matter if it really doesn't matter if the government flies over the fucking mall, drops a net, and is like, hey, everybody, this is classified information. You're talking about too many people interacting.
Oh.
And when they show the police show up, like a fucking 1,000 police cars show up.
Yeah, all of them. I remember.
And again, I fall back on a lot of those problems with conspiracy theories. Or 3 people can keep a secret if 2 are dead, right? That's a fact. So it doesn't matter if you swear to secrecy. You're going to swear you're a fucking Miami-Dade police officer who's making how much money? And you get this call, you have to go to the mall and there's aliens, and some FEMA dude is like, or some, Homeland Security is like, hey, this is classified, so you can't tell anybody. Of course he's going to tell everybody. He's going to tell everybody he fucking knows.
We know a detective there.
Yeah, so I kind of maybe all of this is just like, look over here. Look, there's aliens, or there's a fucking fourth wall dimension.
So when it happened, there was a lot of media. It was on TikTok and Instagram. It was all over the place for a few days, and then it just, fizzled out.
Because there was a thing just the other night. Did you see the supposed crash landing in Washington, D.C.?
No, but I did hear about UFOs over Washington, D.C.
This guy posted. He said like it was like midnight. He heard a crash. And he looked outside, and you can see smoke going through the sky like something crashed, right? And he's like, does anybody know what the fuck that was? Blah, blah, blah. He's going on and on. And then a bunch of other people are posting like, I heard it. I didn't see it. I heard it. I didn't see it. Now, no one has identified a crash site, but everybody's talking aliens. And then this other guy does a TikTok, or not TikTok, but a YouTube video where he's walking through DC at 3:00 in the morning, and there's fucking cops everywhere. And he's like, oh goodness, look at all these police officers. There's all these police officers. What are they doing here? What are they getting ready for? And he's able to walk right through them, which is kind of weird. He walks right through them. And so it's creating hype, right? You have this one video that doesn't really show you anything. And then you have another video of this guy showing you this, right? Blah, blah, blah. And so you want to go down that rabbit hole and be like, oh my God, there must have been aliens in Washington, D.C. Well, come to find out, all those cops were there at 3 o'clock in the morning getting ready for the Army marathon. So you don't, you can't, I know we said this a long time ago. Unless you are physically standing right there when the thing happens and you see it, you can't believe anything that's put up anymore. There's nothing you can believe that's put up. If fucking Camilla Harris pulls her fucking skin suit off and is a fucking evil reptilian underneath, you can't believe it unless you actually fucking see it, because the technology is there where they can be manipulating everything we see. Everything.
But do you believe she probably is a reptilian?
No, she's too dumb to be a reptilian. They wouldn't.
Lizard brain.
They wouldn't allow her in. She's too dumb.
Did you see any of her interviews recently?
I haven't seen. Okay. The problem is she is so dumb and she does not answer any of the questions. You have to wonder. You really have to wonder who the fuck is backing her anyways.
Yeah.
Because it's ridiculous. She's dumb.
Well,
Have you seen the did you see the SNL skit?
Mm-mm. I heard people talking about it.
It's hilarious. It's a name something you keep in your glove compartment. And she goes on her little thing, I was my small business owner, blah, blah, blah. It's like in your glove compartment. She's like, Glock.
Yeah, I figured that's
like hilarious. But yeah. But when SNL, you think, even when you think about the media corporation, they are so fucking liberal. They are so fucking liberal. When you have SNL bagging on you and you're not doing as well as you think you're doing, I mean, that's them telling everybody that she should not be where she's at.
Yeah, even people that seemingly would support that side are saying that. Did you see Obama? They rolled Obama out.
Yeah, to tell black men that they were.
Did you see all the black guys being like, "Fuck you, Obama. You haven't done shit for us. Maybe you didn't get the memo. Nobody gives a fuck what you say anymore."
Yeah, I mean,
we're voting for Trump.
Well, the reality is the problem with rolling out Obama and being like, "Hey, Obama, we need you to talk for Camilla." First off, he does a soundbite. He'll do a soundbite that is actually good for Trump, not for Camilla.
Correct.
And second, he doesn't want her to be president. He does not want her to be president. You can tell just by the way he talks and he represents her that he's going through the motions. It's just like, I got to be wheeled out and go through the motions, or the Democrat Party is not going to keep feeding me fucking money.
Did you see Bill Clinton?
No, I didn't see Bill.
So Bill Clinton was up there and they asked something and he said, well, that poor girl that lost her life to an illegal immigrant, had we vetted the immigrants coming across the border, she would still be alive. He's talking about Riley Gaines. I think it was Riley Gaines. Is Riley Gaines the swimmer, or is that somebody? Anyways.
Yeah.
And he says, Americans are not having children at the rate that we used to. So we need people to come in, but we need good immigrants who are vetted and are not criminals to come across the border. He basically did a fucking commercial for Trump. Trump's been snatching all these up and just showing it and being like, I approve this message.
Yeah, they all do. Nobody, look.
Kamala Harris just said on Charlemagne, basically, hey, we're going to give you $20,000 and a bag of weed. Like, we're going to legalize marijuana, and we're going to give 1 million black folks, 1 million black men, $20,000 to start a business.
Yeah. Well, that's because it's the reality is, and this is the hard part about Democrats. This is the hard part about Democrats, is they will see you as, if you're the Democrat representative, they will see you lie right to your fucking face, like right to your face. They will lie right to your face and go, and you will go, and the Democrats will go, oh well, maybe it's not a lie this time, but They've never done. Have you seen the thing about the reparations in California?
No.
Okay, so
Maybe I haven't.
Newsom said, "Hey, we're going to pay reparations in California, right? We're going to pay reparations
With that $40 billion that he's lost?
Yeah, we're going to pay reparations in California." They won't bring it up. They won't bring it up for a vote. They've actually had people in Sacramento that are like, "Hey, we need to bring this up for a vote," and the Democratic Party uses procedural things to push it. Sorry, it's not time for that. We're not bringing that. And they just keep killing it. It's the same thing here. Camilla actually came out and said she's not doing reparations for African Americans. They have her saying that she will not do reparations. But now that we're in an election year, she's going to say all the bullshit that Democrats say in order to get elected. And then when they get elected, it's like, I saw a thing the other day, and it was this, they were talking about something, but they're like, yes, how successful Joe Biden's president's, he's already done all these things because, he's already passed all these bills that's made his president one of the most successful, right? They didn't list a single thing. Not a single thing. They just lie. Like, the reality is they just lie and lie and lie. You know, I can name things that Trump, I can right now name things that Trump did when he was president that was good for the country, good for the black community, you can't name a fucking single thing that Joe Biden has done. Yeah, I'm sorry. I will take that back. The best thing Joe Biden did in his entire presidency was just recently.
Resigned?
No, was just recently when he
Put on Trump's hat?
That was funny too, when he put on Trump's hat. But was just recently when they asked him about, what's his name in Florida? The mayor or the governor in Florida?
DeSantis.
When they asked him about DeSantis, that was an opportunity for him to, pull the Democratic line and say bad shit about DeSantis. But he didn't. He didn't say bad shit about DeSantis. He said good shit about DeSantis and kind of said some bullshit about his vice president. That's the best thing he's done his entire tenure as president. He hasn't done anything. That's the thing that people don't understand. When a president signs some shit, if it didn't go through Congress and get passed through Congress, it doesn't mean anything. It's nothing. It's a fucking piece of paper that the next president can throw in the goddamn trash and be like, fuck you, asshole. So they're not doing anything for anyone. It's fucking bullshit.
But if the president comes out and says, okay, tomorrow, gun confiscation.
Can't do it.
But there will be people that do it.
No, they can't do it.
You don't think there'll be liberal police departments that start trying to round up guns?
You might have... No, because here's the thing. I believe this to be true.
Yes.
The President of the United States says, hey, we're just going to confiscate all guns. All guns are going to be confiscated. Use the fucking list that you've been keeping for 20 years and just start going getting guns. Even the most liberal California law enforcement agency, everybody's going to be kind of like,
I'm not going first.
yeah, let's see who goes first. I don't want to be the first department that starts going after guns, because that department's going to get fucking burnt to the ground. It's just the way it is. So also, it's illegal. So I don't think, even if the president said we're confiscating all guns, he doesn't have that authority.
Do you not think they've done stuff in the last 4 years that's illegal?
Yeah, but they do it as minimalist as possible and as behind closed doors as possible, right? It's not in your fucking face. Did you just see what happened to the prosecutors in the Trump case?
Tell me.
Okay, so it had that case where they took all his money and are trying to take all his property in New York City. It had to go through in front of a 5-panel judge review board. They got their asses handed to them severely, so bad that at the end of the trial,
Is this where they said we were testing the water? Somebody has to do it. Please don't.
at the end of the trial, they were begging not to be sanctioned. Those judges, I bet that panel is going to sanction those judges.
But what does that mean?
Well, it means they can't practice law anymore.
Is this the crazy disheveled hair dude that was dancing after the trial and shit on camera?
It's a lot. It's more than just. It's every lawyer or every prosecutor that had anything to do with it. So it's multiple people that could be losing their fucking livelihood. What does that mean?
Didn't they just snatch up Fannie Mae's boyfriend or something? Isn't he in jail for something? There was all kinds of shit.
That for all you dumb liberals out there who believed anything that the fucking Democrat Party has said, that means that $480 million that Trump had to put up for bond, he's getting all that back. Every penny of it. And you know who has to do that? The fucking city of New York. And because they were almost sanctioned, again, Trump doesn't have enough time.
Yet.
Trump doesn't have enough time. But if he had some time, he could sue the city of fucking New York.
I'm sure that's coming.
And
So-
the 400 million some odd dollars that he had to put up as a bond won't mean shit when he goes after New York, because they'll lose their goddamn asses.
You have the White House talking right now about changeover of government and
But I will say this: that's part of that 34 felonies. You know, when the Democrats were running around talking about 34, that's gone.
yeah, they keep saying convicted.
It's gone. It's gone, guys. It's gone. You guys fucked up. Because the panel actually, the judge panel actually says, this looks like you were using your office for political persecution.
Well, that's exactly what they were doing.
Yeah, that's exactly what they were doing.
So I keep hearing Trump called on the military. Basically, the way I'm hearing it is he's saying if Trump loses the election, he's calling on the military. Basically, it sounds like to coup. I have not personally heard this myself, but I keep hearing this over and over. I've not heard the soundbite. Like they never attached the
'cause
soundbite where
real.
he says it.
It's not real. It's a DNC. It's no different than the Steele dossier.
It's what they are doing.
Who the fuck? Who do you call? Who you calling? The fucking liberal Secretary of Defense? The liberal, the liberal general who's in charge of the fucking army? The liberal that's in charge of the Marine? Are you calling them and saying, hey, it's bullshit?
It sounds like he's just saying it out in public to like soft units and stuff,
I doubt it.
just like at a rally or something.
He's not saying any of that shit. It's bullshit.
Okay, did you hear about the third Trump assassination?
Yeah.
Have you heard any more about this?
Well, I saw I saw them interviewing the guy where he's like, I'm a fucking Trump supporter.
He was on Alex Jones.
Yeah.
He went on Alex Jones. He was on a bunch of places.
But
and he's like, I am not an assassin. I was not there. Dude, they have footage of him with fucking everyone. Like he's on some caucus apparently. They have footage of him with RFK. They have footage of him with Trump Jr. Like not just like, hey, will you sign my book? Like fucking hanging out together.
I would say this though. I would say this.
What was he doing?
The reality, the reality is Americans in general just need to be smarter and stop pretending that you have some sort of privilege that you don't have. I mean, you don't have privilege. The former president of the United States was actually injured in an assassination attempt. They have been talking about a bunch of other possible assassination attempts against the president,
To include rockets.
Yep. So
And then Trump's fucking staff
I
asked for military aircraft with anti-rocket technology, right? So they're basically, it sounds like they believe that that's a real threat, the man pads.
the threat is not okay. I want you to think about this, okay? Who poses the biggest threat to Iran right now?
Us.
Who? The United States. Which party?
The
Republican
Democrats.
Party? The Democrats. The
But,
Democrats.
I mean, but the Democrats and the
are-
Republicans are one and the same. They always do come
The
together.
Democrats are the ones that are currently in charge of the government and currently pushing towards a war with Iran. So,
I was watching
You're-
Rand Paul this morning. He's
you're-
like, miraculously, the Republicans hold out, but they still all come together when the money comes.
But you think about this just for a second. You're Iran. And the president who didn't try and start a war with you, the president that is actually trying to create peace accords all over the world, that's the one you're trying to assassinate? It's bullshit. It's a fucking, it is a goddamn, I don't want to say CIA, but it is a motherfucking, all it is, it's your Tonkin Gulf incident.
Well, if you want to talk CIA, the second Trump shooter, you know he was arrested over 100 times?
Oh, yeah. He's
Arrested over 100 times.
He's
Never
he's
did
only-
any real jail time. Went into Poland, crossed from Poland into war-torn fucking Ukraine. He was telling people, he was trying to recruit. He had a website up in Farsi. He's trying to recruit out of the Middle East. He's telling them, I can get you a passport into Ukraine through Pakistan. It has fucking CIA all over it. Like I was watching this, I don't even know who he was. I'd never seen him before, but his video was pretty good. He was talking about the two Trump shooters. And he's like, the first one's been completely memory hold. Like nothing on that motherfucker. You haven't heard any more shit on that. The fucking building right in line, the easiest possible target, isn't fucking protected. The dude was able to get off 8 or 7 shots.
Did you see the, Trump went back there, right?
Yes.
Did you see where the fucking shooters were?
Fucking everywhere.
But they were on
everywhere.
They were on that motherfucking roof.
And they pulled this guy said they pulled his normal Secret Service detail for that event because Jill Biden, they pulled Trump's Secret Service detail to go with Jill Biden someplace close to where Trump actually was. So he had these adjunct security guys that were actually Homeland Security people.
I don't know if that's true or not.
I've heard it a lot of times.
You've heard it, but again, the Secret Service detail. So
They didn't have fucking fucking Secret Service, fucking Barbie Pat there.
The Secret Service detail when you were no longer president,
Yes,
that Secret Service detail is assigned to you for 4 years.
I've heard that.
They're your guys. So the reality is, I think, especially because of who he is, because of who Trump is.
Do we know what that number is?
I don't know what the number is, but
Is
it's
it
pretty
4?
big.
Is it
No,
12?
it's a lot. It's a detail. But knowing who Trump is and how he'll say some shit, right? He has no problem being like, you're fucked up, right? Knowing how he is,
He would have already said
if
it.
his detail had changed to the extent that people talk about, he would have noticed that change because they get to know every one of their fucking agents. He would have noticed that change, and I think he would be saying it. He would be like, they changed my motherfucking detail. These bitches are trying to kill me.
Well, he
so-
did say they're trying to kill me.
Well, yeah, but there's, again, the key to never solving a problem. So if you are the CIA and you don't want people to be able to go, wait a minute, you, the CIA, are the ones that killed the fucking king of Paraguay with a fucking fork. You did that. If you don't want that to be the thing, the information about killing the fucking president of Paraguay with a fork can be out there. But you want to put as much disinformation in there. You want to sprinkle all that other shit in there. So everybody's chasing all these fucking they're going down all these rabbit holes, and nobody's going, we know it was you motherfuckers, right? So I think that's what you have really is the CIA uses a lot of misinformation in order to get people to be chasing rabbit holes that don't fucking matter, right? That really don't matter. Like, I'll give you an example, right? Because you bring it up all the time. A lot. World Trade Centers. Everybody is focusing on all these things that don't have to do with a goddamn thing when those individuals came from a specific country and were allowed to enter into the United States. Doesn't matter what they did. How did that happen? That's the thing that's important.
So, speaking of World Trade Center,
Yeah.
just this morning I heard somebody was talking about the conspiracy theory around the Pentagon being struck.
Mm-hmm.
And they say that this airplane struck the Pentagon. And he said, you know, it's just weird that there was no part, there was no engines, there was no plane, there was no piece of an airplane larger than a lunchbox.
That's not true.
I know that you've said that. I've not seen the photos.
I've seen the pictures of the fucking airplane's engines right where you expect them to be.
Can you find that? Look up
Yeah, I've
jet
seen,
engines on the lawn of the Pentagon. See what comes up.
I've seen those pictures. The reality is even if you, let's just look at it this way. Even if you believe that, let's say you believe that it wasn't an airplane, that it was a missile, okay? No, they could make a cruise
Reprogram it,
missile.
sure.
They could make a cruise missile fly, nap at the earth, and hit in the thing. The issue is the type of explosion, the type of explosion it does, and the type of damage it does.
Did anybody die at the Pentagon that day?
Ooh, I don't know. That's actually an interesting question. I know the Marine Corps office was hit, but I don't know if anybody was.
And
in there?
Rumsfeld said what the night before? We're missing $63 trillion dollars.
Yeah. See,
And you know where it was hit?
let me tell you something.
Go ahead.
Let me tell you something that you're not gonna. Let me tell you
It
something.
was in the cloud.
You're not gonna lie. You're not gonna like. Okay. There's two things that always happen whenever a building gets blown up. Conspiracy theorists always say that's where the magic box was.
Okay.
If we would have got that box, we would know. Here's something that the conspiracy theorists won't tell you. Secretary of Defenses for the last 20 years, at the end of the year, have always come out and gone,
We're missing.
hey, we're missing about $1 billion. They always do it.
Hillary has it.
I can find pictures of the turbines and stuff, but I haven't found any of the like, full engines or anything. But there are pieces that were photographed there.
But this is what I'm going to say. If you were gonna, if you're the cabal and you're gonna do something, you're gonna take the World Trade Center down. Okay. You would use a real airplane. You wouldn't use some special aircraft. You would literally have hijack. It would be easier to convince people to hijack an airplane and do what they did than to try and create some special airplane at some special Air Force base that's going to fly into this thing, especially when you're talking about a remote controlled airplane. Back then,
Yes.
not now.
Look up the tail number of that aircraft if you can find it.
Also, the American Airlines Flight 77 was the one that hit the Pentagon. It said it killed all 64 people on the plane and 125 people inside the Pentagon.
Interesting.
I didn't know
Okay.
that anybody got killed in the Pentagon.
Look up
Pentagon.
see if you can find the tail number on that aircraft.
So you would use a real airplane anyways. Like you wouldn't, because again, if I fired a cruise missile at any of those targets, you would immediately know it was a cruise missile. I mean, it wouldn't even be an issue. What do you have? You have thousands of videos of airplanes crashing into the World Trade Center. Now, you can argue that the CIA was behind all that.
How many camera footage angles did they come forward with that?
Oh, I don't know, but there's a ton. There's a lot more than like I went down that rabbit hole once, and there's a lot more video that's actually out there that we don't see. Like the same video gets repeated over and over again, but there's a ton of video out there from all kinds of different angles that for whatever we just don't see.
I thought I heard a guy on Rogan saying there was only 3 camera angles, but there's 600 cameras.
Oh, at the Pentagon?
Yeah, but there's 600 some cameras if you include like across the bridge, across the street, right? Or the flight path, but they've only ever presented 3 camera angles.
I think that
Tail number was N644AA.
Now take that number and type that into Google and see what else comes up with it.
I think the issue there is it's like
What's better than Google? I know there's some other shit we're supposed to be using. I actually watched a video the other morning saying to use Tor browser.
Tor?
Tor and Onion.
Yeah.
So what concerns you currently?
What concerns me currently? Nothing. Everything is peachy keen. We're going to be fine. The elections, Trump's going to slay her. He's going to reduce our tax burden. He's going to open up energy. The economy is going to start booming.
What energy is he going to open up?
All the fucking gas and oil reserves that we're sitting on here in the country.
Do you know that TWRA, our energy here, you know they're the largest energy provider in the United States? They're the biggest conglomerate. I just heard that the other day.
Maybe. I don't know.
Did you hear they're raising?
I would assume I would assume there's bigger ones in Texas.
They're raising electric 14%?
Here?
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Do you know that the prices are going to continue to rise? You know they're demoing all the coal-fired power plants.
Yeah, of course the prices are. I mean, when you really think about it, like, if you really think about it, as a national average, electricity's cheap here. It's a lot cheaper here than anywhere else. So if you just think about it, not interest rates, but if inflation's at 11%, then they have to raise it to 14%, or they can't pay the dudes who run out as soon as the motherfucking
Storm hits.
as soon as the storm hits to go, fix those lines. So they would have to raise it 14% because it has to be indexed off of.
Have you noticed your electric bill's going up?
I haven't noticed.
So the electric bill here is $4,000 a month.
I believe that. Yeah.
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 And that's with being conscious of turning shit off as soon as the employees leave. We cut all the air sets off, and it's still $500.
But you're running. You know what you're paying per kilowatt.
I don't.
That's what you should need to look at, because
Yeah,
you're burning. I mean, you have I don't know what business or building that size that wouldn't be. I mean, I would assume that's about
Most
right.
buildings that size are open bay, poor insulation. We're very well insulated.
Oh, I know you're very well insulated,
We got a buddy,
but still.
sort of local here, that just put a bunch of solar stuff on his house.
Yeah.
And the inspector came out, and they're making him grid tie it so that it backfeeds. Now, you can, on the fly, put this cutout in there, so that you're pulling your power off solar and you're not pulling it off the meter. But they're going to know as soon as your bill for your electric intake goes down.
Well, the reality is, if you set your solar up right, the only time you would be pulling off the meters at night.
Mm-hmm.
So,
however, you shouldn't even have to pull if you have batteries.
Yeah, well, if you have batteries,
Which he does.
That's a different.
But they are requiring, just like in California, you put solar up, you have to give them your solar. They will not let you have a property with no meter.
Good news, though. Good news about being in a place like this versus California.
We can still burn wood too.
Well, good news about being in a place like this versus California is if you were to put solar all over your building and grid tie in, they write you a check still here for the money, for the energy.
I think that just stopped. They don't want you.
I asked Tad about that. He said he's going to get paid.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the good news about here. I know in California they killed that because people were making too much money, right? And so I don't know. The issue that you run into is when you are within the municipality, right?
Correct.
There's a social agreement. So if you live in a city, a long time ago, we decided that we would have a social agreement if we lived in a city. That by living in a city, you would pay taxes, and those taxes would pay for certain things, right? And so what we have done is all these cities have become collectives. When you have individuals that no longer want to be part of the collective and they want to take themselves off the grid, what that does is it creates a problem for the collective. And so they will always create laws that will keep you within the system if you're living within those cities.
So I am currently out of the city.
Yeah.
But it's only a matter of time till they try to annex this and put us as part of the city. There's already talk of it.
Well, I would assume that Camden's going to need a lot more growth. Camden's going to need a lot more growth before they're annexing here.
Well, they're talking about it. It's part of this whole 4-lane. You know,
Yeah.
so this highway that they're widening out here. You know, the motherfuckers got sidewalks.
Yeah.
Who the fuck? When have you seen anybody use a sidewalk here?
You have to understand, John.
Like we don't even have fucking stoplights.
But you have to understand.
Because they got to pay the concrete guy.
And it's not it's not that they don't have to pay the concrete guy. This is probably all new Green Deal money.
Yep.
Okay. And when they write those contracts out, they're not thinking of Camden. They're thinking of, Lakeside or they're thinking about a real city. And what they're saying is, when you build this 4-lane highway, you also have to build pathways necessary for people to walk.
Not only that, they have the fucking div outs
Yeah.
for your fucking rascal scooters and shit.
So yeah, that's going to be that's all it is. And so that's in the contract, because it's in the contract. And again, because government is inefficient and wasteful, they're not going to come out here and go, oh shit, there's a sidewalk that goes nowhere. They're just not. They're going to, that's why we'll have,
literally goes nowhere.
that's why there's plenty of places in the United States where you can find bridges that go nowhere, roads that go
It
nowhere.
literally goes nowhere. I give it 24 months until the sidewalk has ivy and shit growing over it, and it is now taken over the concrete, and it is now back to the forest.
Just release a campaign that they use copper in all the sidewalks, and then the sidewalks will be gone.
Yeah, all the rebar is copper.
It'll be gone.
Exactly.
So
Okay, so nothing concerns you. Trump's going to win.
The election's coming. That's going to be a sticking point. The reality is,
when is
they
the
really-
election?
it's close. We're under 20 days, I think. November 7th. How long?
So SOE Compound Party is December 7th.
Yes.
You guys will know who the president is by then.
Yeah. So you can.
So all you anarchists that are like, I don't have a president, I expect you to be here. Especially if your city's on fire.
So how many days?
19 days and 13
That's
hours.
what I heard 20 days the other day.
So I mean, I'm
Okay, now what
that's
if
a sticking point, and then
what
the
if-
possibility of World War III.
what if we go to bed
We go to bed.
and Trump's ahead by 80%,
Mm-hmm.
and when you wake up, Kamala Harris is the president again? Ooh, I like that fucking long.
No,
silent.
I don't
They call that a pregnant pause.
I don't think that people will. I don't think that people will stand for it.
What will they do?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, you need to think about this.
Throwing boulders off bridges, closing down interstate.
No, I mean, you need to think about this. They just authorized. They're using a presidential authorization for troops to shoot U.S. citizens.
Yes.
Okay,
I
so
think that's what this is about.
They just authorized that. Well, here's the thing. The problem is this. If enough people do not believe the outcome of the election, right? If it is like that, if we go to bed, we wake up, and they're like, oh, miraculously,
Or they're gonna
mail truck
or they're
showed
going to appoint a president you haven't even heard of.
a mail truck showed up with all the Camilla ballots that we hadn't counted yet. If something like that happens, I do believe that people will march on Washington. I do believe that people will be like
January 6th.
no. I do believe that people will have their pitchforks and their fucking, torches, and they'll be heading towards
Till that first M2 goes off.
towards Washington. Now, okay, here's the problem. If 100,000 people march on Washington, D.C., we'll just use that number because during the Vietnam War that happened all the time. If 100,000 people march on Washington, D.C., and they find a reason to fire real weapons, whatever the reason is, it doesn't matter. If they find a reason to fire real weapons, then civil war happens. That is the Concord. That will be the thing that will destroy this government.
What does that look like here if that happens there?
It depends, John.
How long till it spills?
It depends, John. Are you a patriot? I mean, the reality is it depends. How long does it take to spill here? Well, okay, the problem for here is if it's bad enough, right? Let's say 100,000 people, just hypothetically, 100,000 people march on Washington, D.C. because they don't believe the outcome in the election. Doesn't matter whether it's true or it's not true.
In either direction.
In either direction, doesn't matter. And national or federal troops, because that's what is surrounding the White House right now, is
Do
regular.
you know there's over 1 million federal police officers?
Yeah,
right
there's
now?
more. There's more federal
When
police
you look
officers
at
in
because
there.
they federalized a bunch of agencies.
But I
and
mean,
stuff.
the DC,
And those are just the ones on the break.
they have
on
more than the
books.
Marine Corps. Okay, so but there are actually U.S. military personnel surrounding the White House. Okay, if those U.S. military personnel, for whatever reason, decide that they're going to fire on those marchers, depending on how bad it is, the reality is I wouldn't want to have a fucking I wouldn't want to be in Camden, Tennessee and have a fucking Harris Biden sign in my front yard. Right? I wouldn't want people to be able to access the voter records that are local in your area, because again, there may be, the reality is there's going to be fucking, if we go to civil war, there's going to be some shit that is going to happen really bad in major metropolitans. But then there's also going to be some shit that's going to happen in these small towns that it's going to be,
Meaning what? The trash gets taken out?
well, it depends on what you mean by the trash.
That's right. So
It depends on what you mean by the trash.
are you going to let that happen? Is that not the same as putting them on trains?
Am I going to let that happen? No, I'm not going to be party to that.
To what?
To rounding up people because of their political beliefs.
Are you going to dissuade that from happening?
I would, yeah. I mean, if the city of Camden or the city of Waverly decided they were going to start rounding up all the Democrats, I would be a dissenting vote in that, because that's not what America is. But I wouldn't be here.
What do you mean?
I wouldn't be here.
Where would you be?
I'm a patriot.
Okay.
I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be in Waverly. I'm a fucking patriot. I'm an American. And if you're going to use the power of the federal government against its citizens, then you are no longer you no longer have power, and it should be taken away from you. So, and that the reality is that could be either or.
Mm-hmm.
So uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. That's the oath I took. It's the oath everybody took that's currently in federal government, and they're not upholding that oath or honor. So, you have to have moral standing. You have to have moral standing. And you always need to attempt. Sometimes it's not always possible to be on the high ground. You cannot talk about those ideas, freedom and America, and also round up the people that you are politically opposed to. You just can't do it. Now, obviously, if those people are going to take up arms against,
Different story.
it's a totally different story. They become combatants. But until that happens, if you think about any time that the United States of America has rounded up people, it's always been under the Democratic Party. That's not America. It's just not.
I think
Everybody
that
gets a fair shake.
I think you will see things happen like this sheriff that walked in and eliminated the judge. I think you're going to see things happen.
Yeah, I mean,
Impulsively, maybe instinctively, right? For 72 hours, when things go hot in places, you're going to see people just take care of it. It's not going to be a concerted effort of meet at the courthouse and we're going to go get the Democrats. I think you're just going to have neighbors fucking handle neighbors.
that might happen.
Maybe.
That might happen. And then when you think about neighbors handling neighbors, a lot of that stuff is going to be, they're going to use the chaos as the opportunity to do something that they've wanted to do for years.
Exactly.
Right?
When the power goes out and the cameras don't work and there's no fucking geofencing.
I've hated fucking Boo Boo for 20 years because of whatever, right? I'm going to use the fact that they have a whatever sign in their front yard as the reason, right? Even though it has nothing to do with that. It's kind of like, when your woman is yelling at you about not taking the trash out, and that she's yelling at you for something that has nothing to do with taking the trash out. So that's what I say. There's going to be a fucking purge. It's just going to happen. It's going to happen. Now, the difference is, like, here in the South.
Well, the difference is one side has weapons, and one
Well,
side has
what I'm gonna
and one side has fucking foam poles.
I mean, even the
I know.
what I'm going to say, the difference in the South is the South has a very outlaw, you know,
It's more Wild West.
It's more Wild West. They have a very outlaw idea of who they are, right? They're the rebels, right? So rebel shit is going to happen. Whereas if you take California, for example, we'll go to California. There might be, you know, the same thing can happen on the opposite spectrum where it's, hey, a bunch of Democrats are going to get together and try and run out Republicans. The problem for them,
the problem is there's
they're
only 10% of them are.
well, you know, no, but
They're
it's
consolidated.
Like this.
If we put a fucking fence around them,
It's like this. If the city of Camden decides to go after, you know, whoever because of their political belief, right? It's not going to be. It won't be hard. It won't be a fight. If some suburbanites in, I don't know, we'll just use San Diego as an example, decide they're going to go out in Santee and run out all the Republicans, those those liberals are going to pay a heavy toll. That's going to be the difference. The difference is in those areas that they believe are controlled by Democrats, in order to get what they want, they're going to pay a heavy toll in lives. Where down here, it won't be like that. Down here, you just going to wake up in the morning and be like, ain't no liberals here. They're just gone. That's the difference. And so they will have again, if the government is going to unconstitutionally seize power in that manner, I mean, the real question is, would those troops,
I think they would. They're vetted right now.
Again,
like they are consolidated. They've spent years weeding them out. If they're within that fucking fence line, if they're in that area.
There's a difference. There's a wholehearted difference between individuals who believe a party line and individuals who were willing to pull the trigger and kill. Just forget about Republicans and Democrats. Forget about being in the United States. The majority, the overwhelming majority of combat forces in the United States will not physically engage and kill another human being. It's just the way we are.
But who do you think's inside DC right now?
What do you mean?
Do you think those people are combat veterans?
No, fuck no.
That's my point.
No, they're not.
That's my point.
What I'm saying is, see, what I'm talking about is,
no, I understand.
Train you,
yes, I get it.
I'm training you to do that. Now you have someone who is.
When you pull kids,
now you have someone who has never done that before.
Yes,
and they're swinging liberal a little bit. I bet it's probably even if you got them all together and you're like, hey, if the fucking mob attacks the White House,
yeah, who would fire on U.S. citizens? That's what the survey said.
Who's going to shoot U.S. citizens? Because they've been vetted. It's one of those things. Because they've been vetted and because they know the answer that they're being told to look for, right? They know the answer. They're going to say the answer. But no one can physically stand here and say what they're going to do when that moment comes. Especially when we're talking face to face.
But if that moment comes,
yeah,
and they don't fire,
then I wouldn't want to be.
They're going to be fired upon.
If they don't fire, I wouldn't want to be in the White House. Because they're going to get. I mean, the reality is, then they're going to get. I mean, here's the crazy thing. They're not going to be in the White House anyways. Like the White House will be empty. They're not going to be there. They're either going to be on Air Force One somewhere.
It's going to be some more Nancy Pelosi bullshit.
Yeah, but but it won't matter because once, as a nation, once we occupy those positions of power, they won't be able to get it back. They won't be able to get it back. They will have to do the same thing that every deposed leader has ever had to do. They'll have to flee to another country.
That's never happened here.
I know. But federal troops killing people for exercising their constitutional right will make a difference. I mean, if you look
do
at
they not have people in jail currently right now from
January 6th? Oh, yeah.
who were exercising their constitutional right?
That's different, though. Again, that's different. We look at those people. We look at those people as individuals that are exercising their constitutional rights by being incarcerated.
Do you know who basically they have in custody?
A
right
bunch
now?
of old ladies and
Who would not sign and say they
Yeah.
committed a crime.
Yeah.
They literally wouldn't plea deal.
yeah,
Yet they're still in
I
custody.
know. But that's the reason why the current administration is so afraid of Donald Trump winning the election, because they believe that the same treatment. I want you to think about this. The same treatment that they have been giving to their political rivals will be given to them.
No, I think they're scared of way worse than that.
No, I
Because
don't-
I think
because-
they've committed crimes way beyond.
I'm sure they have. I mean, everything they've done to Donald Trump has been unconstitutional, but they're scared of the same treatment, just the same treatment. That's all. When, like I said before, the right thing for Donald Trump to do would be to write letters to all the fucking agencies,
This is your resignation letter. Go ahead and
Yeah,
sign this.
Well, I would be like, here you go. There will be no retribution. There will be no witch hunt.
Have you heard of Kash
But
Patel?
you will fucking retire.
Have you heard of Kash Patel?
Mm-hmm.
He's been interviewed a lot. He was on Trump's staff at some point in some capacity. He says that you can take care of all of this by just removing their security clearance. He says, as the president of the United States,
Yes.
with the signature, you can remove the security clearance, which removes them from holding any of those positions, holding any board positions with any of these defense contractors. It takes away all their ability to be involved in any of this in the future because they can't be read in. They can't hold security. Now, motherfucker, somebody who's never held a job anywhere, now go get a real fucking job in the real world.
The issue there, though, is it's Donald Trump. And so the thing you find out about Donald Trump and being president, and I think that's kind of what both of these two have shown everybody, is
Both of these two.
yeah, with Donald Trump and Biden. Okay?
Okay.
So with Donald Trump, what Donald Trump has shown is even though you have the power, you are not in charge. Okay? And so he's shown that even though he was in power, he didn't have the capability to stop wars. There were certain things that he could not do, even though we said he was the president. And with Joe Biden, what Joe Biden, his presidency and his legacy should have shown everybody is that the president of the United States is unnecessary. That everything that his administration has been done without his knowledge, he doesn't have the capability to coherently understand anything that's going on in his presidency. And so they have been doing it all behind the scenes. It's literally the Wizard of Oz.
So do you not think it'll be the same this time?
What do you mean with
If Trump gets back in, he's not going to be able to do anything again.
I don't know. I don't know if the landslide, if he crushes her, right? Which it looks like he's going to crush her.
All the betting odds, everything
Yeah.
says he is.
If he crushes her, I think all those people, all the, people with Trump derangement syndrome are going to scurry quickly back under their rocks. They're not gonna want to be the thing that they definitely don't want the eye of Sauron on them. So they are going to, I don't think that the trouble that they gave him, because the issue is this, his first presidency, I mean, when you think about it, if you got elected tomorrow, right? If they're like, John Willis for president, and you get elected to president of the United States, especially an outsider like Trump was, you are going to get read into a bunch of shit, right? You're going to get read into a bunch of shit where you're like, holy shit, that's a lot of shit. There's a lot of shit going on all over everybody. I mean, there's no way that one individual really could have their mind wrapped around all the shit that the U.S. government has its fingers into, right? Down to fucking ketchup studies. There's no way, right? So you're going to get read into a lot of shit. So there's going to be a lot of stuff that you're like, Okay, you know what? Fuck that. I'm going to focus on this because I don't even understand what's going on over there. And you're going to focus on that because you want your presidency to leave a legacy, right? So people are going to be, there's going to be people that are going to come up to you and they're going to be like, John, check it out. We got to do this deal. We're gonna ship a bunch of money to Iran, bunch of money, because we don't want them to blow up over here. We don't want them to do this shit that they said they're gonna do. Here's the fucking video. Here's the phone taps. We don't want them to do this. We're gonna send this money. And because you want your presidency, your legacy to be smooth, you're gonna be like, all right, A equals B, C. You're not worried about D. You're not worried about what they're gonna do with the money. So you're just like, make it happen, right? Do that thing.
Yeah, you remember when Iran had no money? Now all of a sudden they do.
So you're gonna be like, do that thing, okay? Because you want your presidency to be smooth. So there are certain elements within the government that are able to technically push you around because you don't know, right? You don't know what you don't know. That's different for a second-term president, right? It's different for a second-term president. He knows all that shit now, and he knows who was bullshitting him. He knows all that. And so they're not going to be able to just push him around. And if he wins the way I think he's going to win, they're going to have to kowtow because the people are going to want Donald Trump to be Donald Trump. So, I mean, I think if they don't kill him, because they really want to kill him, and they really want to blame it on Iran so they can get us into fucking World War III. That's their Tonkin Gulf thing. Kill President Trump. It gets rid of the outsider that they don't want running the government. Then it creates this fake narrative that we have to go to war with Iran. It's perfect.
You don't think Israel's about to go to war with Iran?
Israel can't go to war with Iran.
You don't think they're about to nuke them, do something? Did you hear about all the? Did you hear about all the earthquakes the other night coming out of Iran?
Yeah.
That resemble and testing
nuclear
devices. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Iran's big. So here's the thing. Iran's big. Israel is not. Single or multiple nuclear weapons will be way more effective against Israel than they will be against Iran. Now, Israel has very, very, very fucking good intelligence assets. And so maybe with one swift nuclear weapon, they could eliminate the possibility of return fire. But man, if I'm Israel, I don't want to be the first one to drop a nuke in the Middle East, because that opens them up for every motherfucking Arab state to use a nuclear weapon against Israel. And Israel has everything to lose. Iran don't. Like, the reality is Iran don't.
Who over there has nuclear missiles, you think?
Who has them? I'm sure the Saudis have nuclear weapons.
We gave it to them.
Well, yeah, I'm sure the Saudis have them.
And you think Saudi Arabia would nuke Israel?
They flew planes into the World Trade Center. I mean, you know what I'm saying? They flew planes into the World Trade Center. So would they nuke? If Israel used a nuclear weapon against another Arab country, or I mean, they're not really Arab, but used against, and maybe. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the hostility. I do know that everybody over there hates each other, and you cannot open Pandora's box and not expect to get the retaliation. The only reason why we were able to drop 2 nuclear weapons in war was because no one else had them. We couldn't ever do that again. If we did it in Korea to stop the Chinese hordes, there would have been a nuclear weapon in retaliation. If we would have done it in Vietnam, again, there would have been a nuclear weapon in retaliation.
Did you see Kim Jong-un's sister is back in control of their social media, apparently?
Oh, made it back? Nice.
Which means something has probably happened to him again. But she's talking about South Korea posturing, and their handler, the United States, needs to put their mongrels back on a leash, and there will be retaliation, and the big.
North Korea has the same problem that all those other places have, is they are literally a paper tiger. South Korea. The only reason why there's still a North and South Korea, the reality is the only reason why there is still a North and South is because of us. Because of us. South Korea has wanted to fucking end this thing 20 years ago. They've wanted to go over there and beat the shit out of those guys.
But the North Koreans,
they're hungry.
Have a military out of fear. Like they don't.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're
North
hungry.
and South Korean people don't want to kill one another. They just want to remove the government. And I would think that both sides want to remove the government of North Korea.
What they want is a united Korea, right? That's what South Korea wants. But also South Korea wants,
as does the population of probably North Korea.
Oh yeah. But mostly what South Korea wants to do is demilitarize its country. So the problem for South Korea is most of South Korea is literally within 10 miles of the DMZ. Mm-hmm. So the fear has always been, if the North Korean army actually did try to punch through, they would take Seoul immediately and Korea would fall, right? And so since the end of the Korean War, all South Korea has been doing is building up that infrastructure for that type of warfare. A defensive warfare. Why? Because we told them that. But they are technologically advanced enough and trained enough that it's one of those things where, hey, when are you going to take the leash off? Let's just why are we still fucking around with this guy? He can't feed any of his people. He's got fucking generals that have never seen combat that have fucking medals down to their fucking pockets. Let's just fucking do this.
Is it not possible to just remove that family?
For whatever strange reason, since the 70s, we've been kind of very anti killing leadership. Now this could be that thing where we're falling back onto fucking when armies faced each other and marched within 10 paces and shot their muskets, and you weren't supposed to shoot the officers because armies without leadership turn into chaos, and we can't have chaos. That might be the thing that people are worried that if we assassinate a leader, because they're all everybody. The thing about which the Israelis just showed us, or I don't think they showed us, but the Israelis just exposed it. Everybody's touchable. Like, there's nobody that's not touchable. Every person is touchable. So I think the issue is we don't specifically assassinate leadership that we don't like because we don't want the other side to think it's okay to assassinate leadership on our side, right? It's that we're mutually agreeing that our armies can kill each other, but we're not really supposed to kill. We're not,
by proxy.
Yeah, I think that's kind of it, is because again, he could definitely be touched. He could probably. The reality is, I'll bet
because Nancy Pelosi doesn't want somebody hunting her.
Yeah, I'll bet we have somebody. The reality is that an agency. It doesn't necessarily have to be the CIA, but they probably have somebody that sits right next to him every day. Every day, because it's not hard.
Anybody over there would just do it simply for Disneyland.
Yeah, I mean, he killed his brother for that reason.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, he killed his brother because his brother wanted to go to Disneyland. He actually did escape, went to Disneyland. His brother hung out in Europe for a long time, and then he had him killed. Kim Jong-un? Yeah, had him killed.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. His older brother, I believe was his older brother. Yeah, they killed. That's the thing.
All they have to do is we'll give you a Disneyland.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You can have one of the abandoned ones in China.
But when you're Kim Jong-un, you just be like, make me a Disneyland. And then you get all your slave laborers out there and they make him a Disneyland. And he's like,
it's not the same.
It's almost as cool.
It's
like
a,
Mickey Mouse has got an ear that's flopped
yeah,
like
it's a
this.
fake Disney.
It's
Have you
fake
seen?
Disney.
I sent Brandel some photos. There's some crazy fucking AI photos out there of abandoned Disneylands, but it's like in the future, dude, it's bizarre.
Yeah. So I mean I think that's it. Is we just don't have the. I think Nancy Pelosi, or I don't want to say Nancy Pelosi in general, but
They almost got her, man. They almost got her husband.
Leadership in general doesn't want. It's okay. It's okay to catch your. It's okay to catch your political enemies in some sort of honey trap, in some sort of Epstein Island thing, but it's not okay to kill them. Like you think about that.
Well, even if they caught him in the honey trap, none of them have been punished.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, selectively. We selectively punish the people that when someone is because think about Prince. I don't know what the Queen's brother. Was it the Queen's brother? The one that had the picture with the girl that was
Harry
17?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why they even matter. They don't fucking control anything.
They selectively outed him and crucified him, and the reality is, I'm sure he did all kinds of crazy shit on Epstein Island. But they outed him based off of a picture. Nobody was naked. Nobody was doing anything inappropriate.
Well, we seem to forget that the Queen herself was sitting on the cabin of Epstein in the photo.
So, I mean, I don't know. It is what it is. It's a hierarchy that we haven't reached that level yet, so we don't know how many babies you have to eat to be in the club. You know, it's just like, think about Diddy. And everybody, you hear anything coming out of Hollywood right now? Anything? You hear anything coming out of the music industry?
No, at the same time, Hollywood seems to be shut down. Like they don't even need Hollywood anymore.
It's quiet as a motherfucker over there. Why? Because nobody wants
involved.
Nobody wants to. You know, there's Cat Stevens. You know, he's talking about.
He said, "I told you, motherfuckers, all along."
He's talking about it, but I guess there's some rapper. There's a couple of rappers that are implicated, like. Crazy ass. I don't know if you saw the video, but it's this rapper that Diddy signed, and this guy's in Diddy's house with no shirt on, sitting at the table, and Diddy is singing "Happy Birthday" to him like Marilyn Monroe, and they interview him, and they interview him, and instead of talking about that incident, he spends most of the incident talking about how he's not a homosexual.
DMX had a whole song about all them motherfuckers.
Yeah, so I mean, you know what it is. The reality is, I think that when you're a certain level, you know, when you get to a certain level, and you have to interact with all those other people. I mean, just think of the privilege people think they have, and the things that they are able to get away with because they have money. And so, if you take 100 people that have had privilege and have gotten away with things because have money, and you put them together, that's going to ramp up the reality. It's going to ramp up the weirdness, because you're like,
become desensitized to it.
Yeah, you're like, oh shit, I didn't think Hillary really ate babies. Let me eat one of these babies. You know what I'm saying? You're just because you're in that group now, and so you think you're safe because you see all these other motherfuckers in there, right? You think you're safe, but you're not really safe unless somehow you're protecting yourself. It's like
it's only when you stay inside the castle walls.
It's like if you're dating DiCaprio, right? If you're dating DiCaprio, your lifespan is 26. That's it. Right?
Do those girls die, or they're just
done? He's on to the next, right? And whatever. That's his world. But he was at all those Diddy parties. So who knows what his world was before that? Who knows why he's the way he is or whatever. So, you know, I don't know. I don't know how we got down this rabbit hole, but it's like Justin Timberlake, or not Justin Timberlake. Who's the other little kid that Diddy? Beaver, right? So he had Beaver over at his house when he was fucking like 12.
And the kid was saying something about Lamborghinis, and Diddy's like, that's not for on video. You can't say that. Yeah.
And when he was they
asked him, did you get your Lamborghini? He's like, not yet, but it's coming.
And but if you look at even Justin, if you look at him, you know, he was like this wholesome little kid,
Yeah,
and then had a total emotional breakdown, had to go to Jesus.
Apparently he's out saying some stuff right now.
Yeah. So
A lot of them have that emotional breakdown, and when the psychiatrist shows up to give them chemicals, it's always the same psychologist.
Well,
Always the same guy.
I think the reality is what people find out, like Jim Carrey, is that none of it's real. That you think that, you know, money and fame and all that is this thing, but it's really manufactured. It's not real. You know, the reality is people like P. Diddy because it was manufactured that we were supposed to like P. Diddy. It's not real. The Beatles sucked. The reality is the Beatles sucked. That's going to get a lot of hate, but they do suck, guys. Really listen to their music. The only reason why people even listen to them is because the producer was a fan of fucking Goring, or not Goring.
Who's that terrible dude that came out of the Beatles? You can't understand anything he says.
Paul McCartney?
Ringo Starr? Paul McCartney? No, there's one of them. He's still kind of around.
But they understood propaganda, and when the Beatles came to the United States, they paid those girls, they paid those crowds, they made them look like, and so people were like, oh, the sheeple in this country were like, oh, look at that. That must be the thing. Let's be the thing.
It's the same as putting a $2,000 a day ad spend on Facebook ads. It's just the modern day.
Yeah. Anyways.
All right, you ready to jump over and do Patreon?
We can do Patreon. If that's what you want to do.
Guys, if you're not a Patreon member, you can become a Patreon member at SOE Tactical Gear. You ask questions, and we build those videos around the questions that you guys ask. And then we're going to do a live and give some gear away. To be a winner of the gear giveaway, I don't know why this is so difficult. You have to be a member on Patreon, and you have to have an order number. And the reason we require that is, number one, we want you to join the Patreon, but we can communicate with you on Patreon. There's a chat feature where everybody can see exactly what was said and what happened who is a Patreon member. It's under community.
And we also already have your address.
And we already have your address by you putting in an order, and we can simply print a label and ship your stuff today. So we will see you guys over on Patreon. This has been Pulling the Thread, episode 90. 90. And make sure you're following Dog Kennel and Little Spoon on Patreon and YouTube.
I need a door. Does anybody have a door with a frame?
What do you need?
A door with a frame.
Well, you know, there's a lot of different sizes.
It doesn't matter what size it is. It just needs a frame.
What are we building?
We're not building anything. I just need a door with a frame.
I can get you one in 20 minutes.
20 minutes? Really?
We have a door frame builder place here in town.
Oh, yeah. I need a door with a frame.
It might squeak every time you open it.
It's only going to be opened once.
Oh, you're using it for breaching?
It's only going to be opened once.
You know they make rebuildable ones.
Once. No, I don't. I just need it once.
Just need it one time.
One time. That's all. I'll give it back after I'm done with it. So if you have a door.
How many pieces is it going to be in?
Well, I mean, I don't know. We're going to have to see.
All right, guys. If you use Redcon1 products code SOE Gear, it'll get you 20% off your order. And as always, with all the crazy shit going on, you might want to look at EMP Shield. Code SOE will get you $50 off your order. And even if you don't have an EMP,
will they be?
It gives you $25,000 of protection in lightning strike.
Will they be at the party?
Some people from there will probably be at the party. I don't know if EMP Shield is coming to the party. That's a question for Kiri. We'll find out.
Yeah, Kiri, EMP Shield.
What do you need?
To come to the party. I want to put one on the truck.
AJ can. I have one in there. We can put on your truck. AJ can put it on.
Are you sure?
100%.
It's going to work?
He put them on mine. I hope. He built my...
You know, that's the crazy part is we don't... How do you know?
Because the green light's on.
Hey, can we... EMP Shield. EMP Shield, if we...
Can you get me a pulse gun?
Well, I'm thinking if we hit the computer box in the truck with a cattle prod, will that test it? Will that tell us if it works or not?
I don't know.
Do they... You know what? We need to ask them, if we cattle prod the car, will they still cover the $20,000? Because those computers are expensive.
They'll cover the $250 that saved your car.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
they replaced your
the
EMP
car.
Shield.
Right. Then save the car. Got it.
See you guys next week.